Hello, fellow watchers and enjoyers. Ash and Piggy here, bringing you pretty much Walford on Tap, the show where we discuss today's EastEnders. Today's EastEnders is obviously the Wednesday, the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. As we're going to discuss the big, I would say two-hander, but it's not two-hander, the big Knight family episode. The big George Knight kind of discusses, oh, so Eddie, you killed a man. And then obviously you get some revelations, and it fucking goes from there. So, and the internet's a bit dodgy, so Piggy, just all your thoughts in one right now.
I think it's fixed. I think.
Yeah, I think it is fixed. It's fine. You can actually have a conversation.
It's just want to quote one of my favorite wrestlers. Ash, will you be my Valentine?
What do I say now? Well, how do I set up a joke?
No, you don't set up the joke. That's the entire quote. Will you be my Valentine?
Oh, no. I had a date with fixing this chair. Glue and wooden holes.
Oh yeah, didn't the chair
baby.
break on like Sunday?
Yeah, it broke. Anyway, let's talk. We don't have much time on this, so let's talk about the episode immediately. This episode was It was a really well, interestingly done, as it was in three sections really. You had Elaine and Gloria talking, essentially, the more human side to talk about this, and obviously Gloria's like, it wasn't his fault entirely, like he always tried to protect us. He's just an old man. It's just an old man. And then you had Anna and Gina, who, I mean, everybody's pointed out, Gina's clearly faced a lot more racism in her time than Anna has. Anna could be viewed from an outside perspective as white passing, or she could be white, which obviously has caused some friction internally as well. Fucking Gina's not really had that luck as such. She's been, she's clearly faced a lot more abuse and harassment, or at least in her mind. And then you get to Anna to be like, yeah, but I fucking faced it too, We're supposed to be together, united as one, we're sisters. But you still look at me as different just because of, like, who I am. I think one of the lines was simply, I'm just as black as you. And it was a breakdown in their, like, fucking communication. Because, like, Gina clearly dealt with a lot. But Anna, both being the baby and seen as outside, like, perspective of trying to be seen as white passing, obviously create a bit of dissonance, Maybe there's some bit in her brain where Gina goes, maybe if I look more like Anna, I wouldn't get as much fucking abuse. And then the big fucking George and Eddie's very stern fucking conversation, where you slowly just get more and more details as Eddie wants to say. He wants to say nothing. So, it wasn't my fault, It wasn't my fault. It was an accident. And then George goes, well, it wasn't, though. I was there. It's like, what? Like, well, yeah, I knew it. I was there. I just finished up boxing at the gym, And I'd seen this man cowering in the corner. And a group of you, just him cowering in the corner, you just punching on him, just beating him up, just fucking absolutely ripping into him, and he's making sounds I've heard nobody else make. And it's like, fuck. But it slowly ramps up more and more, because he then goes like, look, all right, it wasn't as clear cut as that. I wasn't a murderer. Like, okay. But he still admits he did have a part to play in it. And it continues, though. It keeps fucking going. You get more and more, and it's all really good. And George starts to go through, like, his history of, like, a bunch of the racial abuse he suffered growing up, but he was just told to, he'd always looked to try do things to make Eddie be proud of him, and Eddie, like, respect him and love him. But no matter what he would do, the only thing he could really do that would make Eddie, like, look at him in the way that he wanted to be was obviously boxing with his fists. Like, Eddie tries to say that, oh yeah, no, I looked out for you, I protected you, I put my neck out on the line for you. But when all of the racial abuse was being thrown at him, all of the jokes were thrown at him, he didn't do anything. And it keeps fucking going though. That's the fucking best bit. You get all this really deep fucking, like,
lore.
All this history. Yeah, lore. And you know, it keeps fucking ramping up though, because Anna obviously, like, you know, this obviously ramps up the argument that Anna and Gina has. It kind of has Elaine and Gloria kind of be like, if this was an accident though, why is he bundled up in a suitcase and thrown in the canal? Doesn't really make much sense, does it, Gloria? I want you to tell me the whole fucking truth here. And where it continues and gets really fucking dicey is George then, like, Eddie starts to call George ungrateful. He's like, you know, how we fucking looked after you, we protected you. And we get the description of how, you know, Gloria couldn't get pregnant and she found the advert for baby farming. And it's like, oh, you know, like, fine, I'll do it. I shouldn't have, but I did it because I wanted to protect Gloria. And you also get Gloria telling how much she loved George and how much she would have done everything to do with it. And how at some point, Eddie was like, oh, we'll just have our own kid. You know, we'll have our own kid and we'll fucking give George back, be fine. And Gloria's like, no, it's not fucking happening. It's my George. And fucking it keeps going, and Eddie explains how he treated him well, but yeah, George is like, I did so much to be proud of you, but you just never were. And it reaches a point. It reaches a point where George finally kind of starts to ask him, just like, I did all I could in these situations just because I wanted you to love me and say you loved me. And Eddie is obviously struggling a bit, and he doesn't really know what to say, and you just see his, like, mouth just quiver. And it's a point, you know, it's a fucking pivot point. Eddie could say, you know what, I always loved you, it's fine. Or he could say, get your filthy hands off me, and fucking yank back like his hand's been put in a fucking saw. And it causes a massive fight because, yes, Eddie Knight is a racist. And yes, he did kill that man. But Gloria rushes down the stairs, just like, you know, don't hurt him. And Eddie's obviously cowering in the fucking corner, terrified. And then we get the actual reveal that it wasn't, like, yes, Eddie Knight did kill the man. But he killed him because the man who Eddie Knight murdered was actually George's biological dad. And Gloria had told Eddie that you need to do whatever it takes to make sure that George isn't going to get taken away from us. So now, Gloria was complicit in the murder and did anything she could to try get George to stay around. And the fact that George witnessed the murder of his dad by his adopted dad. And it's all levels of fucked up, but really interesting all the same. What do you reckon? What do you reckon about this stuff?
I understand it's pretty watershed, but I really wanted them to say a slur. Like, Eddie, that is, not George. Not George.
They didn't need to, honestly. That you got.
No. But yeah,
it funny. It would have been.
I am not a racist. I am a racist, but I'm not a fucking murderer. What the fuck do you think I am? I love the complex of that. I know you're supposed to feel sorry for George. I do. I feel wholeheartedly sorry for him. But it's just the conflict of fucking Eddie being like, oh, yeah, I'm racist. Look, I might be a murderer, but, like, I am a racist. I don't care.
Yeah, but, you know, as a whole, the more serious note, your more serious take on that.
Oh, my more serious note. Yeah, it's a fucking fucked up episode. like you watch your actual dad be beaten to death by your adoptive dad in a boxing gym, and you run
I think it
off
was
and you
outside the
cry.
boxing gym or whatever. But yeah, it was it was just there were so many layers and so many different ways that it could be interpreted. You obviously had Anna and Gina's kind of relationship fracture because, you know, there are differences between them. Some people might look at them entirely differently, just like how Eddie is like, oh yeah, she's great. Favorite grandkid. I always say never a favorite. Anna's the best. Why? Just like them all. You have Elaine still kind of out, like, I would say out on her ass, not entirely sure, but still wants to play the Gloria type role where she wants to be supportive of George, but she doesn't really know how. And it makes sense as to why. Also, I will say I'm getting picked up by the microphone on your end, which is being picked up by the recording. So, I think so. Yeah. And ultimately you have George, who is it would make sense, but it also you get more of a harder aspect to it where George, obviously, he didn't piece it together. Like, there would be no reason to expect that, this would be George's dad. There's no reason for him to imagine. Like, you get the hints where he thinks, and it's like the pieces are there to connect, but there's no reason to suggest why it would be his dad. But now it creates an extra little complex of layers, because at some point, Eddie did try to say you were complicit. If you watched it, why didn't you fucking stop it? It's like, fucking hell. Oh, man. A really fucking good episode. Honestly, probably one of the episodes of the year so far.
I know it'd be very dark, but I want to see. I want to see. Do you know like how they did a flashback episode for Phil, where you see Phil beat the shit out of his dad? I want to see a flashback episode of that. I know it'd be very dark, and you'd have to do post-water thread, but I don't care. I want to see the perspective of teenage George seeing his dad being killed. I know that sounds very dark, but I do want to see like how it was done.
Yeah. I think it's the one thing that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. Will we actually see any of the bit now? Will we see more? Will we see the trial? Will we see the court proceedings? Will we see if Eddie is actually ruled fucking like a murderer? Because they've managed to do this in a really interesting way where, like, does George want justice for this? But also, if Eddie goes inside, there's a chance that he never actually gets the answers he wants, about his past, about his dad. How will this affect the relationship with George and Gloria? Because it's easy to be like, oh, Eddie was the scum, and he is. He's racist and a murderer. But also, now Gloria, who was seemingly the most wholesome, the biggest, like, fighter for George, like, her actions led to George's biological dad's death. I just think it's given a lot of really interesting avenues that the story can go down, and I really look forward to seeing what they do with it. But yeah, definitely worth watching if you want to. If you've ever seen all of the Knight family as one-dimensional, or they haven't really put much stock behind them, look at this episode and realize that this is fantastic stuff, and you can tell that they have a lot of trust and faith in this family to do something like this. Do you have anything else you want to add to this?
No.
Well, I'll just say, if you want, we will obviously be talking about this again in the podcast that's recorded tomorrow, but will be out Sunday. So, and I took pretty heavy notes, kind of structuring all the big important plot points. So this was mostly just a big holy fuck, what an episode. Here's the main talking points. But obviously, In the podcast, we'll get a much more concise, a much more kind of detailed, I wouldn't really say analysis, just run through the episode. But yeah, probably so far, episode of the year. Fantastic stuff. And like, it's the show that you don't necessarily need your violence, you don't need your guns, you don't need your drugs, your crime. Like, the family drama is often what carries these shows, and this episode was another example of how good it can get by just establishing a story and exploring it deeper. So there we are. We've been watching Walford. Thanks for watching the video. This was a special edition of Walford on Tap, and to all the people who were defending Eddie Knight, the fictional racist, your senses are just off. So he is a fucking racist. He is a massive racist, and no, it's undisputed. It is undisputed. So thank you for watching. What did you think of the episode? We'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and as I said before, tell us what you think. Thank you for watching. Join us in the next one. Bye-bye.